Today, we're not going to talk about grand displays of power or dazzling miracles. We're going to dive deep into subtlety, into those discreet yet profoundly transformative manifestations that signal authentic spiritual power. A radiance that expresses itself effortlessly, often without you even knowing it, like the fragrance of a flower that perfumes the air without a second thought. We'll lift the veil on these phenomena, drawing inspiration from the richness of depth psychology, particularly the visionary work of Carl Jung, for whom the human soul, with its vast conscious and unconscious territories, was an inexhaustible source of wisdom and mystery. We will also intertwine the quiet strength of Stoic philosophy, that ancient art of cultivating an unshakable inner citadel, allowing our true essence to flourish. Because, you see, there are presences that, by their mere existence, silently transform the world around them. They have no need to chase the spotlight, because they are that light, a soft, constant glow that illuminates even the darkest corners. Their arrival in a place, their simple passing through, shifts the atmosphere, soothes troubled hearts, and awakens dormant consciousness. It's a natural magnetism, a spiritual emanation operating from the unconscious, a fragrance of the soul. It might just be, dear friend, that you are one of these presences. So now, more than ever, it's time to pay close attention to that part of you, that intuitive intelligence so often overlooked by our rational world, yet which knows, which feels, which deciphers the silent languages of existence far beyond words and tangible appearances. Prepare yourself for an inner journey, where you might recognize yourself in the signs we are about to unveil, not as strange burdens or anomalies to be corrected, but as the delicate and precious imprints of your own inner light seeking to find its way. The first of these signs, and undoubtedly one of the most perplexing until we grasp its profound nature, is your subtle, yet real impact on the atmosphere and those around you. Have you ever had that strange feeling, upon entering a room, that your mere presence, even before you've uttered a word or made a gesture, changed something intangible in the air? Perhaps you've observed an ambient tension lessen, an unexpected calm settle in, or the general energy of a place seem to condense, become fuller, more vibrant, or simply different. Others present may feel it, consciously or not. They might suddenly feel more relaxed, more centered, or an agitation they were carrying within them subsides as if by magic. Conversely, in an environment steeped in lethargy, your arrival can inject a discreet vitality, a tremor of awakening. This phenomenon isn't about ostentatious charisma, nor a deliberate will to manipulate or control the environment. It's something far more subtle, an influence emanating from your deepest being, like a gentle, penetrating wave. Carl Jung spoke of the psychic field that each individual generates, a field that constantly interacts with those of others and with the environment. When this personal field is imbued with notable inner coherence, authenticity, and cultivated depth, sometimes through integrated trials, it radiates a particular quality. Your presence then becomes a kind of silent keynote, a vibrational anchor around which other energies can, if only for a moment, find a new harmony, a point of rest. It can help others, quite unconsciously, to fleetingly reconnect with their own center, their own inner order. Perhaps you've witnessed those moments when a heated discussion softens as you approach, or a visibly tense group begins to breathe more deeply and calmly. Or in places heavy with discordant energy, your presence seems to create a kind of clearing of neutrality, a bubble of serenity, even clarity. It's not so much that you absorb negativity like a sponge, which would be exhausting, but rather that your own vibrational frequency, stable and luminous, offers another tuning fork, an energetic alternative to which the environment can subtly synchronize. This is a tangible manifestation of what spiritual traditions call the radiance of being. You carry within you, without necessarily knowing or willing it, a quality of being that, by its simple existence, modulates and influences its surroundings. This is a power of great discretion, the power of being rather than doing. Take the time to observe this. Observe with gentle curiosity how places, plants, animals, and people react, not so much to your actions or words, but to the simple emanation of your presence. The second sign, which directly follows from the first, is your role as a refuge, a discreet awakener, and your innate ability to soothe others. Do you find that people, including sometimes perfect strangers or individuals you barely know, are instinctively drawn to you to confide, to share their burdens, their most intimate hopes, or simply to find a moment of peace and rejuvenation by your side? Do they perceive you, without you having done anything to encourage it, as a solid anchor, a center of calm amidst the storms of their own existence? If so, this is a sign of great power and beauty. You seem to possess this faculty, often without even fully realizing it, to ease interpersonal tensions, to diffuse latent or emerging conflicts through the sheer quality of your energy, sometimes with very few words, a measured intervention, attentive listening, or even a silence filled with presence and acceptance. Your energy acts subtly but profoundly, transformatively, on your relational environment. Truly powerful spiritual energy, you see, doesn't need to make noise or impose itself. It operates with the discretion and efficiency of an underground spring that nourishes an entire landscape. It simply is. And by simply being itself, it accomplishes wonders. Others instinctively sense in you a non-judgmental listening quality, a presence that welcomes unconditionally. They may feel seen, heard, and acknowledged at a depth that few people usually offer them. They feel they can drop their masks, their defenses, and show their vulnerability without fear. Carl Jung might have interpreted this ability as a manifestation of the sage or wounded healer, archetype slumbering and acting within you, that part of your being which, having perhaps traversed and integrated its own shadows and sufferings, can now offer a space of compassion, healing, and authentic understanding to others. You then become a mirror, but a benevolent and clear one, reflecting not only the other's difficulties, but also their potential for light, peace, and resilience. The inner tranquility, the ataraxia cherished by the Stoics, which you may have cultivated consciously or not, becomes a beacon for those navigating troubled waters. Your energy, even without conscious intent on your part, can touch people at the core of their being, reminding them of their own inner light, aspects of themselves they had forgotten, neglected, or no longer dared to believe in. They often leave your presence feeling a little lighter, a little clearer, a little more aligned with themselves, sometimes with a new perspective or a renewed sense of hope. It's not that you transmit something to them that they don't already possess. Rather, your unique vibration helps them reactivate their own inner resources, to reconnect with their own source of wisdom. You act as a silent catalyst for their own awakening, a simple reminder of what is already there, within them. This ability to be a haven of peace, a discreet awakener of consciousness, is an undeniable mark of a soul that radiates its benevolence. The third subtle sign that attests to your spiritual power is your hypersensitivity and your heightened, almost intuitive perception of the world around you. You are endowed with a particularly sharp sensitivity, a kind of inner radar or seismograph of souls, which allows you to feel with great finesse the ambiances of a place, the subtle emotions of people around you, the unspoken words hanging in the air, the invisible atmospheres that permeate an environment. You pick up information, energetic currents, relational dynamics that most people do not perceive, or perceive in a much more attenuated and filtered way. Hidden tensions beneath polite smiles, joys or sorrows concealed behind an impassive facade, unexpressed intentions, the energetic signatures of a place laden with history or emotions. All of this reaches you with an acuity that can sometimes be disconcerting, even overwhelming. This perception of the invisible, this ability to read between the lines of manifest reality, is an undeniable form of spiritual power. It's your soul's faculty to decipher the world beyond the veil of appearances. Jung considered intuition one of the 4 fundamental psychic functions, a direct royal road to the knowledge of the unconscious, both personal and collective. Your hypersensitivity is this intuitive function at work, a wide open window onto the deepest and most subtle layers of reality. However, like any great capacity, this one comes with its share of challenges. If not understood and tamed, it can lead to unexplained chronic fatigue, a diffuse sense of unease, a feeling of being constantly raw, or overwhelmed by the incessant flow of emotional and subtle information you absorb, often involuntarily. You might feel like you're carrying the emotional burdens of others that overflow, which your system picks up with great fidelity. This is where the crucial need to learn to discern, to differentiate between what belongs to you and what emanates from the outside, comes into play. A few precious keys to navigate this hypersensitivity. First, recognize and honor it not as a weakness or a flaw, but as a precious gift, a refined instrument of perception. Then, cultivate regular grounding practices, contact with nature, meditation, conscious breathing exercises, bodily movement, to reconnect with your own center, with the earth, with your own energy. Learn to visualize a kind of benevolent protective filter, or a sphere of light around you that allows you to perceive with clarity without passively absorbing, to empathize without being overwhelmed. Regularly ask yourself this essential question. This emotion, this tension, this sensation I'm feeling right now, is it truly mine? Or am I picking up the echo of a neighboring soul, a place, an external situation? This simple inner questioning is a fundamental first step towards mastering this gift. The detachment advocated by the Stoics can be of great help here. Learning to observe emotions, yours and others, as passing phenomena, without fully identifying with them, recognizing them as waves crossing the ocean of consciousness, but which are not the ocean itself. Jung might have suggested using active imagination to dialogue with these perceptions, to understand their message without getting lost in them. By learning to navigate these subtle waters with awareness and wisdom, your hypersensitivity transforms from a potential source of inner saturation and suffering into an extraordinary tool for deep understanding, authentic connection, and enlightened empathy. The fourth sign, often misinterpreted by an entourage that doesn't always understand, and sometimes even by the person concerned before they grasp its deeper meaning, is the undeniable and vital need for regular solitude and retreat. You frequently, even cyclically and unavoidably, feel the need to isolate yourself, to withdraw from the noise and bustle of the world, to dive into silence. This is by no means an escape from life or others, nor a symptom of misanthropy or depressive tendencies. For you, it is an organic necessity, as vital as the air you breathe, an essential means of regenerating yourself, of finding yourself again, of recharging at the deepest level of your essential being. In the incessant turmoil of the external world, with your heightened hypersensitivity and your natural ability to pick up surrounding energies, you involuntarily become laden with impressions, emotions, and psychic noise that doesn't always belong to you. Solitude then becomes your privileged sanctuary, the sacred space where you can shed what is not yours, where you can let the countless impressions and emotions accumulated through interactions settle. It's a fundamental return to self, a privileged moment to realign your own energies, to reconnect with your inner source of peace and clarity, to hear the whisper of your soul once more. Carl Jung himself extensively emphasized the crucial importance of introversion and moments of solitude for the process of individuation, that patient and courageous journey towards the full realization of self, the integration of all facets of our being. It is often in the silence and tranquility of a voluntary retreat that the subtle voice of the soul, the symbolic language of the unconscious, the whisper of the self, can finally make itself heard far from external distractions and solicitations. For you, these moments of withdrawal are not an emptiness, but a fullness. They are spiritual rejuvenation baths, times of intimate dialogue with your own depth. They allow you to maintain your clarity of mind, your inner peace, and consequently, the quality and purity of your natural radiance. Solitude, for a soul like yours, is this alchemical space, this vas hermeticum or hermetic vessel of the alchemists, where inner transmutations can safely occur. Never try to fight this fundamental need, don't judge yourself for it, and don't let anyone make you feel guilty about it. Honor it as an essential and sacred part of your balance and spiritual hygiene. If necessary, gently and patiently explain to your loved ones that these moments of solitude are in no way a rejection of them or their affection, but a need as fundamental to your well-being as eating, drinking, or sleeping. It is in these cocoons of silence and contemplation that your spiritual power recharges, purifies, recalibrates, and prepares to radiate anew into the world with even more clarity, gentleness, and presence. These retreats are acts of love and respect for yourself, which ultimately benefit everyone you meet. It's a bit like an archer who must draw the bowstring back in a movement of retreat so that the arrow can be launched with force and precision towards its target. Your solitude is this necessary and fertile withdrawal. Finally, the fifth subtle sign, and it is of capital importance, is your deep-seated authenticity and the profound, sometimes unsettling resonance it elicits in others. You carry within you like an infallible inner compass, an irrepressible aspiration to be true, to be in deep accordance with your fundamental values, with what you feel is right and aligned for you, even if it sometimes means swimming against the current of social expectations, trends, or dominant opinions. This instinctive refusal to play a role that doesn't suit you, to wear a social mask of compliance that would suffocate your essence, acts as a powerful vibration, a unique and recognizable energetic signature. This unvarnished authenticity, this integrity, is one of the most solid and luminous pillars of your spiritual power. However, it must be acknowledged that living with this deeply ingrained authenticity in a world that so often values appearances, performance, and conformity can be a real daily challenge. Feeling different, out of step, can sometimes be a source of loneliness or misunderstanding, and can be burdensome. But for a soul like yours, compromising your essence, being untrue to yourself, betraying your deep convictions to please or to superficially fit in, would represent a far greater suffering, a kind of slow death of the soul. This raw authenticity, this transparency of being, can elicit very contrasting reactions, sometimes strong and unexpected in the people you meet. Your simple way of being, your unfiltered light, your quietly assumed truth, can act as a powerful mirror. It can highlight in those who cross your path not only their own forgotten inner truths, their deep aspirations and their dormant potentials, but also, inevitably, their shadow parts, their arrangements with themselves, their own masks and their areas of denial. Faced with this unintentional illumination, some individuals will be magnetically and positively drawn to you, recognizing in your vibration an echo of their own quest for truth, an encouragement to be more themselves. They will feel inspired, validated, perhaps even relieved to see that it's possible to be oneself. Others, on the contrary, may feel deeply uncomfortable, disturbed, shaken in their certainties, even irritated or critical, because your mere presence confronts them, without you intending it, with what they would prefer not to see or acknowledge in themselves. This is a classic manifestation of what Carl Jung described as the projection of the shadow. What we do not accept in ourselves, we tend to project and criticize in others. Never take these negative reactions personally. Understand that your light, by its very nature, simply reveals what is in you and around you. It is then essential, even crucial, not to try to normalize yourself at all costs, to dim or tarnish your own glow to be accepted by everyone, to avoid causing discomfort, or to avoid confrontation. That would be to betray yourself profoundly and deprive the world of your unique and precious gift. On the contrary, the path of wisdom and power is to fully and joyfully accept who you are, in all your nuances, and to let this authenticity radiate with courage, humility, and gentleness. As the Stoic philosophers taught, the sage is one who lives in accordance with their own nature and with universal nature, the Logos. Your authenticity is your truest way of living in accordance. Your fundamental task is not to please everyone, but to be fully yourself. And by being authentically you, you offer the world the most precious and inspiring gift of all, a living invitation to authenticity, an embodied demonstration that it is possible to be oneself deeply and without artifice, and that it is precisely there in this congruence between being and appearing that true power and true joy reside. So there you have it, dear friend. These 5 subtle signs: your distinct impact on the atmosphere, your natural role as a refuge and awakener, your hypersensitivity and heightened perception, your vital need for regenerative solitude, and finally, your uncompromising authenticity and the resonance it provokes, are neither anomalies nor weaknesses nor sources of shame. They are the discreet yet eloquent witnesses of a spiritual power emanating from you, often without you being fully aware of it or measuring its full extent. It is the natural radiance of your soul that touches, influences, and colors the world in a unique way. Perhaps you recognize yourself in one, several, or even all of these signs. If that's the case, I want you to know, from the bottom of my heart, that you are not alone in experiencing this. You are a carrier of a particular light, a vibrational frequency that has its place, its role, and its irreplaceable importance in the vast and complex symphony of the universe. If these words have resonated deeply within you, if they have shed new light on aspects of your inner experience, if you recognize these signs in the fabric of your own life, I warmly invite you to express it. Comment below, "I radiate my light," if you feel ready, here and now, to fully and joyfully embrace this quiet and benevolent power that has always been yours. The invitation I extend to you today is simple, yet it can be profoundly transformative. Observe yourself with infinite kindness, with the curiosity of an explorer discovering a hidden treasure. Welcome all these aspects of yourself with tenderness, patience, and deep understanding. Don't try to change, judge, or repress them to conform to an external mold, but rather seek to understand them, to refine them, to tame them, and to let them express themselves in the world with wisdom, discernment, and love. For these are your most precious gifts, your tools for navigation and contribution to the world. Your exquisite sensitivity is not a curse, but an extraordinarily precise compass guiding you towards what is true and right for you. Your need for solitude is not a sign of associability, but a sacred recharge, an inner pilgrimage essential to your balance. Your impact on others and on ambiances is not a burden to bear, but a silent service you render to life. Your authenticity, sometimes so difficult to maintain, is not a gratuitous provocation, but an offering of truth and integrity to the world. The path of personal growth and spiritual fulfillment inevitably passes through this courageous recognition and loving acceptance of our profound nature in all its dimensions. Carl Jung left us this precious teaching. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And it is precisely by embracing these particular sensitivities, these specific needs, these subtle impacts, that you transform what might have once been perceived as a shadow, a difficulty, or an oddity, into a source of intense light, wisdom, and compassion. Subscribe so you don't miss our next journeys of exploration into the heart of inner wisdom, the mysteries of the soul, and the infinite potentials of the human being. And if you think of another soul, a friend, a loved one, whom this message could enlighten, support, or validate on their own path, don't hesitate for a single moment to share this revelation. And always remember this: your mere presence in this world is a gift. Your unique light, with its very particular hues and nuances, is profoundly necessary. Don't hold it back any longer out of fear or misplaced modesty. Let it gently but surely infuse the world with its singular color. For it is in this effortless radiance, in this authentic expression of your being, that one of the most beautiful and purest manifestations of spiritual power resides. Continue to cultivate your inner garden with love and patience, and let your unique flower bloom and offer its fragrance to the world. You are, in truth, far more powerful, far more luminous, and far more precious than you may have ever imagined.